Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is OctoMan, and this is a tutorial about how to create, well, character selection, as the title says, of course. But before we go and start, make sure to grab your free PDF, 3 strategies to finish your game. The link to that PDF is going to be down below inside the description. Just check it out. And feel free to grab it. Once again, it's completely free, but it might help you out in how to finish your game as soon as you can. Also, don't forget to check out the description below where all my Unity or most of my Unity courses are going to be available. There are hundreds of, or not hundreds, but about 10 or 20 links about the different courses I've created beforehand. Also, if you are new to my channel, check it out, and of course make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out whenever there are new live streams, new content, or anything other stuff over here. So this little, let's say, tutorial, it's more or less a tutorial. I'm gonna do this like freely. I do not have prepared anything. We just talk about it. We're gonna take a look into different possibilities, and we're gonna do it in 2D today. So basically 3D is not, it's not different to 2D, but well, 2D is quite fast for me to explain because it's easier for me to create graphics and stuff like that. So this has been a request of 2 people actually, which were hanging out in my community chat. So if you feel you have any requests, of course, feel free to join my community tab. Take a look into the questions I write, one or the other day, and then give me your ideas if you want to. If you have a specific request, something rather small, not too huge, which we can probably cover in like 1 or 2 hours, something like that. Then, feel free to, leave me a note, and probably I'm gonna stream about your specific topic over here. So once again, today we are going to start with character selection. Character selection can be created in multiple hundreds of thousands different ways, and I'm gonna show you 1 or maybe 2 ways. I'm not quite sure about it, so yeah, let's take a look into it. The last time we were creating this Paper Mario style stream, once again the stream is also available on my YouTube channel, just check it out if you want to. We created this little guy which we can basically walk around, jump around, do animations and stuff like that, so, and also be rotated like it is paper. So what I today want to make use of is these little Slimer guys, which you can see on the bottom right corner. These are going to be my characters I want to pick from, and then decide who I want to have actually loaded into my little game scene, because that is actually what we want to know, right? So before we do that, over here we want to make sure that we have a complete empty scene where we just have the actual, pick ability, or the ability to pick one of these guys over here. We're gonna create a small system around it, I would say, which is actually determining what's the color of the guys we're gonna have, or what is the correct sprite to load, whatever it is. Also, we need to prepare animations and stuff like that, so we can basically use all 3 different characters at any time. Your characters do not have to be slimes. They can be characters, like walking characters like this guy over here. It can be 3D, it can be 2D, basically it doesn't matter. So, and that's what we're going to do today. So if you have any questions meanwhile in the stream, feel free to ask. Otherwise, there is the comment box down below. So just leave a comment if you have any questions or any similar. So I'm going to go in to create a new scene over here. So we are starting completely blank, so we don't have any problems or issues with that. So I have not splitted these guys. Maybe I'm going to do this pretty quick. Wild Yanni appears. Hey, thanks a lot for tuning in once again. I'm glad you're here. So I'm gonna go pretty quickly and split these graphics up, so it's easier for us, of course, to make use of them, like each single sprite. I have them set it up so that all of them should have the same size, and so we can make use of that. So I go to the sprite editor. Before I go, I need to change this one to multiple, otherwise I cannot cut them, into multiple pieces. And there we go. So we have now, once again, several possibilities. We can do grid by cell size, grid by cell count, as well as automatic. Automatic doesn't really fit for my graphics over here, so I'm gonna go probably with cell count. So I have 4 cells on top, 3 in the bottom. So that's what we're gonna do. So the column should be 4 and the rows should be 3. If I'm wrong with these numbers or something is wrong at all, we can always change that. And I slice them. What's going to happen is now I have like, yeah, 4x3 quads over here. As you can see, all do have now their own graphics, so we can put stuff together over there as well. I apply the changes, of course, and then we can go forward with, picking them like singly. We can now pick one graphic over the other graphic and so on. Now, the next part is going to be how do we show the actual characters on screen and how do we switch them, like we're gonna do a button input or maybe whatever it is, we can press the keyboard left, right, so we switch graphics also and so on and so forth. And of course we need to actually remember what we have actually done. So we need to take something over into another scene so we can understand which actual Slimer did we actually picked beforehand. I'm gonna create an empty first, so this is going to be my character selector. You can name it whatever you like. Character, can type today, selector. So if you don't know where to start, you always want to make sure that you basically split problems by themselves. Like when you have okay, I want to have a full character selection. What do I need to do? What do I need to take care of? So this is the way you should start here as well. So for example, we can make use of this character selector to directly take care of these sprites over here. So probably we're gonna put a sprite like under it, like another empty game object, or we're gonna take a Slimer directly here from our list and drag this as a child object over here. So we're gonna see the Slimer, we create automatically this sprite renderer, so whenever we want to, we can switch this graphic to be a red one or a blue one. Pretty simple, right? So we can do the animations. We talked about this in the player, now in the Paperboy, thing over there. So the Paperboy stream. So I'm gonna go and cover that, well, quite a bit. So we're gonna understand the difference between one and the other Slimer and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're gonna start with any kind of a setting so we can make use of it, of course. So what we can now do is we can basically switch these graphics by inputs. So once again, the input can be like next to each other. We can scroll through, we can just hit a space bar or just arrow keys, whatever it is. It depends on the style of your game. We can also put some buttons above these characters and do something like select this or select this, and then, we switch graphics. All of that is completely up to you. I'm gonna show you the basics. So all of that is basically the same. So, but the settings are just a bit different, So, if you have any special requests how you want me to do this, then let me know, like in the next minute, I would say, so I can now prepare everything. And otherwise, if you don't give me any specific input you wanna have over here, then no worries. I'm gonna choose any. Meanwhile, I'm waiting for your request. I'm gonna do a script already, which is going to take care of all our character selection, just a C# script, and call this one char select, whatever it is, because we need to have a script handling all the inputs of us, as well as changing the graphics to whatever our setting is, and store information anyhow. So I'm gonna bring my character selector, I pop it up, and make sure that character select or char select is going to be part or child of this object over here. So no inputs at the moment, so I'm gonna open this one already, so I have still some time to wait for your input. So if you have any ideas, stuff, just pass over. Otherwise, I once again pick any. Basically, it doesn't matter. I opened this one with my mono develop, and you can make use of Visual Studio, whatever, and there are several distribution tools or IDEs you can use. Gonna wait for my firewall, which pops up like 2 times, as you always know, probably. If not, if you're new, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and then you know that this is nothing new over here. Probably that pops a 3rd time. No, it doesn't. Okay. So what I gonna do, what is my solution? Okay, it's here, but it doesn't show up. Okay, never mind. So what we need to do, since you don't give me any input, I'm gonna decide to do anything on my own. What we wanna do is we wanna have like all possible characters, be it a 3D object. You're gonna have to handle this quite a bit different. But if you don't have a 3D object but a 2D object, then you can use a sprite, you can use an object, you can use whatever you like, as I said before. And we later on just store them anywhere and switch between them until we reach the end, and then we start once again once again. So you can create a class for this, so then you can loop through the classes if you have multiple things you want to probably take care of, like if there are multiple settings, like multiple character abilities, whatever, then you can put this into a class as well. There was a request about abilities here as well, like about stats. I have a video series about, I believe so, already on my channel, but probably I'm gonna discover or cover this one later on, like in an extra live stream or so. Okay, so what we need is we need to have a connection to the sprite renderer where we want to put in our graphics. So the sprite renderer is a child object of the character select object, so we can grab it at start if we want to, or we just define it by hand. So this is of type sprite renderer. So this is our renderer, which is actually just holding the graphic. And we can talk to it, we can put in, images and stuff like that. We can switch the sprites whenever we do whatever inputs we need or want. Then we're gonna have something else, which is called a public sprite. So the sprite is actually the image on our pic, the three guys or how much we have. The sprites are going to be just a graphic representation. If you have 3D objects, like if you want to use 3D, then you don't use sprite at this point. You're going to make use of game object, because that is the way to handle those later on. Okay. So you probably you make use of mesh renderer, but that doesn't make sense overall, because you would lose like all the bones and stuff like that. So you better go with a game object. Array over here. You can also make use of a list or a dictionary. It doesn't make sense to have it, but there are multiple possibilities. So in this case, an array is pretty much fine. A list is also fine here as well. So we're gonna have like a sprite array with all our graphics we want to have in. So basically our selectable characters. You can name this once again whatever you like. Characters. You can also name this character sprites, so we know what's that about. So an array works like a 1D array. In this case, works like it holds like all the elements. Like the first element is always the element 0, and then it starts 1, 2, 3. Since I have 3 characters to choose from, basically I could also use the guy from the Paperboy series, which can also be inside of that. It would be number 3 in this case. So we always start at 0. 0 in an array, 0 in a list, and so on. So now what we need to do is in our character select, we're going to put in all the sprites, and then we want to anyhow loop through them and show the correct sprites, send them to the renderer. Maybe I'm going to rename this. Anyhow, it seems to be having issues with that. So I'm going to name this SP renderer. And so this is basically what we need as the script part. So I'm going to show you what's happening already, and then we can decide what we want to do. So we're gonna have once again the sprite renderer with any of these sprites. We're gonna have now our sprite renderer we can attach to. So we just select this one and bring this over here. Once again, if you have 3D objects, you don't need to do this, because you don't need to render that. You just have to have something like a parent object. In this case, it's going to be the character selector on its own. And of course, we're gonna have like this character sprites over here. Now we can put all our sprites, which we want to put into this, and just bring them into this little list. So the first one is probably the green one. Give me a sec. I'm gonna have to undo this. You can always lock the selection, by the way, so you don't lose the actual scope. So I take the first Slimer, the first red one, and the first blue one. It is important that you not understand, but it is important that you keep on track which is which. So this one is a green one, this one is a red one, this one is a blue one. So green, red, blue. The order is later on interesting when it comes to sending the information about it over into another scene, like which character we want to play with actually. Okay, so, and that's it for this particular part. Now we want to switch the graphics by any input. So once again, we can make use of arrow keys to put on like buttons, whatever. We can make use of selectable sprite images. We can shoot array. We can, oh, what's that? Once again, hundreds of possibilities. We're gonna make use of the easiest one since nobody actually had an idea about it. So I'm gonna do the update loop. The update loop, once again, only is for inputs most of the time. So keep that in mind. If you do inputs, then you want to make use of the update loop. Otherwise, you want to avoid using the update loop in any case. So what we want to do is we create just an if statement and do something like if we are putting or pressing the left or the right key, then we want to loop through all the sprites and send them into the renderer. So we choose them. Also, we need to define or keep track of the actual index of the sprite array. We're going to talk about this afterwards, because we need to have some kind of an index which needs to, remember whatever we have chosen. Okay, so we're going to do now the left key input. So if input dot get key down, get key down. Where is get key down? This one. So we're gonna put in a key code dot left arrow. So if on our on our keyboard we're gonna press the left key, like the left arrow key, then we wanna switch the sprite into the negative direction. Then we render this. Okay. So in this case we're gonna have to do several things. Of course, we need to keep track of that we are not underdoing it, otherwise we get an argument out of range exception, because we cannot go with the index downwards. So in that case, we're gonna say something like we just update the renderer, I guess. So we say sp nope, I believe we're gonna have to store an index. I'm gonna keep on track over here. Maybe we're gonna make it an int index. So this index is basically starting at 0 over here. So we're gonna have to add start void start. We want to make sure that we set the correct sprite for this particular starting index. Once again, I can also say something is equal to 0 or to whatever the amount is, as long as it fits inside the sprite, array size. So what we want to do is we want to render first the sprite renderer.sprite. We want to set this one to be equal to, and now we're gonna take our character sprites in square brackets, and now we're gonna pass in the index over here. So we can test it out in just a second. I'm gonna save that just in case. And let's test it first so you understand what's going on. As you can see, this one now is blue. It would be element number 2 over here, but our first slimer is the green one, as you can see highlights here. And if I now press play, this should automatically switch to green, as you can see, because it's taking the actual slimer from the zeroth element, because our index is 0, and put this inside over here in our sprite renderer actually. So I'm gonna unlock this so we can see this over here. You can see now the sprite or slimer set is 8, but it should be changing to 0, as you can see. Updates to 0, pretty good. And that's basically what we now do also with the character selection part. So once again, we just use left and right key input. I'm gonna copy all of that and put this already over here for the right arrow. So we have like a left-right input, and then we change the sprites according to the index. But before we do this, we want to make sure that this index is getting increased by that or decreased, and then we're going to actually do the sprite renderer based on the final input. Probably we're going to put an else if statement over there. So what we want to do is when we go to the left arrow, we want to negate index by 1. So we can put in something like index minus minus. We need to correct this index at the same meaning. So we're gonna do something like a modulo, or something like if it is smaller, like if index is smaller 0, smaller, is it smaller or equal? No, it should be smaller 0. If that index is smaller 0, we want to make sure that the index is set to be the maximum possibility of index. In this case, we're going to take the character sprites.length. Copy that. character sprite dot length, and probably we need to put or negate this one by 1, I guess. I'm not quite sure. And in here we're gonna say index is equal to character sprites dot length, so the length of the complete array, it doesn't matter how much they are, then we negate it by 1. I believe we need to do this, but well, yeah, we should. Otherwise we get an overflow because the index would be too huge or too big. So we're gonna do basically the same over here. We're gonna do something like index plus plus, and in here we should be able to do something like index modulo equal, I believe character sprites, where is it? Dot length. And probably it needs to be negated by 1 here as well. I'm not quite sure. So in here we just increase that. Basically we do the same as we do over here. We just increase it over there, and then we make sure that when the index is too huge, like it is not 2 but 3, then we reduce it back to 0. So basically we're gonna do the same over here, but with a modulo, so it's like, you know, in the positive direction. It's easier probably to read. Okay, we're gonna keep that and check this out right now. Oh, we forgot to render this. So we can increase the index right now, but we haven't rendered our actual sprite right now. So what we can do is, after the input is done, usually we should be able to put this in the bottom, but we want to only do this if the key has been rendered. So at the very end, whenever we are done with checking this and updating the index, we want to make sure that with left or right button key, we update the correct index. I'm gonna save my scene here pretty quick to a new scene just in case if something crashes. So I'm gonna name this character select. I do this off screen, so no worries about it. So it's just so that I have the possibility to later on load another scene and load the correct character at this point. Okay, so let me now take a look into the button input. So you can see we start at index number 0. So this is what's happening instead. When I now press the left key, I go downwards like to the left, and I'm loading the actual blue one. I hit again, I negate index once again and load the correct character. And I do the same in the other direction. Like when I hit right once again, then I increase that and go positive through that list. If you later on like have 10 different slimers over here, no worries, you can do this simply and everything is fine. Good. So now we know how we can do actually switching the characters. Once again, the same is going to happen to 3D objects. You can have a cube, a cylinder, and a whatever. You just need to handle them a bit different. Why? Because you need to activate or inactivate or deactivate the corresponding objects, because in this case you're gonna have like 3 characters over here. You need to make them all hidden, like game object dot set active to be false, and then you only activate the one whichever is currently in your selection range. So once again, 3D is handled a bit different, but basically shouldn't be of any issue. 2D is simpler. As you can see, we just overwrite the sprite renderer and we are good to go. Okay, cool. So now we need to understand how do we actually bring now the information from our current index into the new scene and select or choose the correct character. But before we do this, we want to make sure that we have another setting onto or inside our other scene. So we're gonna do this pretty quick. I go to my sample scene over here and we prepare basically the same as we did with the player. Probably we can make use of that already. So as you can see, our character over here does have the same setting. You know, it has like a sprite render in here, so which we learned in the Paper Mario stuff and so on and so forth. We did an animator component over there and so on and so forth. So nothing fancy at all. So basically I just go and duplicate this, I guess. I deactivate this one so I don't actually ruin it if I need this later on for another tutorial. And over here I'm gonna, for example, take another sprite. Maybe we're gonna start with a green one. Okay, so now we have several possibilities to switch our characters stuff over there. By the way, I need to later on create a new animator component for all of that, since we just switch graphics whenever we are walking. our current walk jump is based on other animations. Let me pretty quickly do this so you can see what's going on. Okay, so on my walk jump stuff over here, we're gonna have this from the character once again left, and I'm gonna create a new animation for just the green slime, and the rest should be automatically done later on, I hope. So we're gonna create a new clip. I just named this one. Where is my animations folder? I don't have any. Oh, that's funny. Gonna create one pretty quick. Animations. I do this off screen once again, no worries about it. You can do this at any time you like. And this is going to be my Slimer walk. Basically, Slimer does only have walk, so we can also make him jump, but doesn't really matter. I just created I'm not quite sure if that even works, but we'll see. So what I do is I take all my textures and take this 3 textures and bring them over here into my animations part. I don't know how fast this needs to be, but we can test it out when we press play. Okay, so we have a little sticky thing in the center, so we're gonna need to bring this key. I'm gonna hit Control C, go to the number, what does it need to be? 15, 40, 45. Gonna bring this over here and take the first one, copy this as well, and bring this over here and is at number 2. I'm not quite sure if that works, but we'll see. Okay, that looks okay-ish. There's a small gap, like the center is probably not good. Gonna reduce the speed now to, let's say, 20 milliseconds. Maybe I get rid of this one in the center. Well, it doesn't matter. I didn't took too much time into animating that stuff. Okay, so what we're gonna have now is a animator component which has now the Slimer walk. As you can see over here, we don't have, or I don't have any idle, so probably I'm gonna create a new animator component for this and connect it to that. So I do it rather simple. I just remove this component and add a new animator. I believe it doesn't really need to be removed. I guess I just create a new animation or just a new animator controller. I'm gonna do this over here. Create new. There should be anywhere animator controller. There we go. Slimer. So we have Slimer in here. We can take the animation of the Slimer walk directly into this, as well as we can, copy that. We can stop at any time, whatever we please and like. We can do all the intersections, and so on and so forth, and the transitions over there. And we need to connect the Slimer to our guy over here. So when we press play, this guy should walk automatically, or does this little slimy animation. Pretty good. Now I just need to have something called idle state or something. So I go once again to Window, Animation. I want to make sure that I select my guy over here and create a new one. Create new clip. So this is just my idle. It's just a single idle or Slimer idle. Slimer idle. Something like that. And I want to make sure that I only have just a single frame over here. Like basically this frame is going to be my single frame. So I go to textures, Slimer, take the first one. You can make it also like that. So you copy this, basically go to half a sec or a second. Basically it doesn't matter. And bring this over here. So basically you just have an empty frame. You can also put like idle frames inside. Completely up to you. In the animator component, we want to make sure that idle Slimer is going to be the default state, and we're going to make a transition to Slimer walk so we can walk with that guy. Of course, we need to have a condition. It should be a bool, and I just named this one walk. If I have any typos, I'm going to change them later on. We're going to need to put the condition over here. So if walk is true, then we want to make sure that our Slimer walks, and else, basically, we're going to, make a transition back. And in here walk should be false as transition, and this transition over here needs to have no exit time. This is important. So we can basically go from idle, anytime from idle into the walk, and whenever this does not have any exit time here as well, like whenever we release the key, we want to make sure that we do not walk anymore. Like we hold key and we do not hold key. Let's see if that works already and if there are any issues. Oh yeah, we don't have jump. That's okay. So as you can see, I can now walk around with my little Slimer here in the scene. Probably you can see this better here as well. I can still jump, but I don't have any animation for that. So you can see this guy is able to do his walk animation, no worries about it. Now basically we need to set up all of that content for our red guy and our blue guy as well. So since they have like more different sprites, we cannot just make use of an animator override controller. Well, we can. So we don't need to do all the other content about the walking and stuff. Once again, if you do not know about this walking stuff, check out the Paper Mario style or the Paper Mario stream. It's like 1 week ago, I guess, where you can just go literally into and, you know, understand what we have done over there code-wise and so on. So we're gonna have this one. So our green guy over here, our green Slimer, is now able to walk and do stuff like that, and is playing the correct animation. Now we want to make sure once again to have our red Slimers going to do the same. We just need to prepare all the correct animations, and we want to make sure that we have it like as a child object over here with its own animator component. So I'm gonna duplicate it 2 times now. Since we're gonna have later on this guy might be or will be our blue guy. No, not the blue one. The second one needs to be the red one. Like that. And this one here needs to be the blue one. Why do we do this? You may ask is, if we deactivate those two, we only see blue. If we deactivate these two, we only see red. If we deactivate these two, we only see green. But the actual programming about walking and stuff is happening over here. So there's one more flaw which might occur is going to be since, well, we might need to change something in code about the animator component, because we grab at start the animator over here. And if you have multiple animators, they probably are not found. So we need to check something like if animator is something like active in hierarchy or whatever, just to avoid any other issues, of course. Good. Hey guys, thanks a lot for tuning in. 8 people are already in the stream. Pretty nice to have you guys here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Also, once again, check out the description below for more content. And now we got this. We now need to create the other animations for the, once again, the red guy and the blue guy. Basically, we can make use of the same animations and just switch the graphics. Awesome. So I'm gonna go to do this, but we might need to rename these animations. So I go to animation again. Again, we're gonna have like this walk, jump, sprite stuff over there. Is a deactivate object, so we're gonna make sure that this is completely seen. Also, you can see this little Slimer sprites over here are now green. I want to make sure that they are also not green but red. But before we can do this, I believe we just duplicate the complete animation, because otherwise it would overwrite the old animation, or we're gonna create a complete new clip. Basically, it doesn't matter. We're gonna just try to remember the times over here, like you know, every 5 milliseconds gonna do the steps. So I go to my animations folder. I once again do this off screen. I'm gonna name this one Slimer Red Walk, and we're gonna do actually take our sprites, bring them in, make them up to, I believe it was up to 10, and then we take the first one, copy, paste over here onto the 15. Pretty quickly do an animation play check. Looks good, pretty good. I also need to have a Slimer Red idle. So since we are probably going to make use of a idle, I believe so, I mean we need to. So Slimer Red idle, gonna save that. And this just once again gets my first image over here. We can once again put a copy of that frame like over here, whatever. Is that the correct one? Nope, it's not. Gonna copy that, delete this just again, and paste this. Okay, good. And now we have or I got the red one completed. Now we need to do the same for the blue one. Once again, the blue guy is over there. We go and do window, animation, animation, and we gonna create a new clip. And now, once again, a Slimer blue idle. Blue idle. Save. And I'm gonna just take the first, go to 1 sec, and put this in here once again, something like that. And we also need to have something like a red, no, not a red, but a blue walk. Blue walk animation once again. I do all off screen about that, so no worries about it. Gonna take these guys, bring them here, scale them up until that, take the first, and nope, it's wrong. This needs to be up until 10, and here we need to copy and paste that. We can test this out over the blue one. I don't see any, because it's deactivated, so let's take a look at this. Good, animation runs, no worries about it. Cool, so now we got this in place. We now need to find, or need to make sure that we have for each guy over here, since they have multiple different animations. Hi E-roll, thanks a lot for tuning in. We need to have other controller over here, so I can see we're gonna have animator controllers over there. We got this one animator controller where everything can be connected to, and this is going to be a trick I learned quite some time ago. It's called an animator override controller. We can add this to any other creature basically if we want to. So we can say something like that. We call this one Slimer Red as an example, and we can connect it to any already existing controller like our Slimer. What we now can do is we can put all the correct animations into that to override them. But before we do so, want to make sure that we get rid of these animations from the actual Slimer animator component. And on screen or in scene, whenever we select the Slimer Red, you can see there's now only a Slimer idle. So what do we do actually now is, instead of setting all up, doing all the walk and the parameter switch and so on and so forth, we're gonna keep basically the original animator component. Once again, we are now gonna deactivate the other ones. We are now in the red one. Instead of having the Slimer in here, we're gonna put Slimer Red as a animator component, and now we drag all the corresponding animations for the actual Slimer idle and Slimer walk and put them into here, like the clips we have created beforehand. So I'm gonna hit the lock symbol since I don't know which one is which. Cannot read the names. Gonna maybe zoom out a bit. So we're gonna take the Slimer Red walk and put this into the Slimer walk and to the red idle and bring this into idle. So it's now overridden by these animations. You can do this in 3D as well, so no worries about it. So I'm gonna do the same now for the blue one. So I activate it so I see it better. I once again now need to have another override controller, so create a new animation or animator override controller. It's going to be my Slimer blue. It has the same settings. We need to connect it to the actual Slimer controller over here, because there are all these components and stats and stuff like that. Then I take blue idle, put this into blue idle, take blue walk and put this into blue walk. Why do we do this? Because we do not have to set all the animations once again. We do not have to do all the override controlling stuff. We don't need to set all the transitions and so on and so forth. We just save time by using override controllers. Cool. Final steps should be, whoops, that wasn't intended to do. What we now need to do is, I want to make sure that the last one is green. Okay, cool. What we now need to do is we need to activate and deactivate the correct, animations. Why? Or actually these sub-objects over here. When you do, once again, 3D, you just activate and deactivate the corresponding game object, since, once again, the complete functionality of your character is going to be over here, and your 3D graphics of the character should be like part of that, so they are not intersecting any of the settings. If you need it, then you can do this separately, but I don't recommend it. Also, there's another possibility when you have like a 3D character which is super special and has super different input things, which usually doesn't happen. Well, then you can put like all the corresponding, based on the index we have talked about before, and put them like into another index list, and then you just activate the one which is sitting inside this index list, and the other ones get deactivated. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to take the index into this scene whenever we have, selected everything. We're going to start our game, we go into the scene, we're going to prepare this at first, and then we want to make sure that we load the correct index we have chosen beforehand and deactivate all the other corresponding objects over there, or only activate the one which is actually the one we have chosen. I'm going to save my scene pretty quick and go back to the other scene. So in here we got our setting over there. What we want to do is we want to have something like a start button where we can, just flush data in. Also, I want to create another helper script which is keeping track of the ID or the index we have taken before or were choosing before. So we can later on read this index by that setting and then come back later on. You can store this in a player pref if you want to, but not necessarily have to. But I don't think that we are going to do this. So what I do is now I take another script over here. So it's going to be just a, let's say, safer, like a local save object, or local save input or whatever script. What we're gonna do is whenever we are done with our setting, we're gonna read the data from this guy and put this into our local save. This local save is meant to be store information only locally. I'm gonna explain in a sec why and how. First, we don't need to inherit mono behavior since it's not necessary. We don't need start and update since it's not so necessary as well. And what we now want to have is we're gonna once again to take the stored input or the stored index and place this into our local save over there. So in that case, it needs to be public, it needs to be static, and now we're gonna put in something like chosen character, whatever, chosen character. And of course we need to give it a type, and the type is just an int, like our index. And that's it. So now we just need to store the information into this chosen character. We need to make sure that the class is public and it is a static object, so otherwise we cannot, or a static integer, otherwise we cannot, read it from anywhere else later on. So with that static information, we can now go to the other scene. Once again, it's just a local save. That means it's just for a session based. Okay, so just in that particular session, we save this information. Once again, if you need to have it better or keep on storing this one for the future, then you want to put this like into a text or into a player pref or whatever. Basically, it's the same thing. And like later on, when you come back, you load this integer information from the player pref, so you always have the same chosen character. Good. So now we flush the data into this, but we want to do that with a start button or something. And since I'm lazy, I don't want to create a start button right now. You can, no worries about it. Oh, you know what? We're gonna create a start button. So I'm gonna create a public function for our start button, void start game. We need to define what we want to do at start game. So basically, first, what we want to do is we want to store the information of our chosen index into our local save. In this case, we just talk to it, local save, dot, and in here we have the chosen character. Since it's a public and a static accessor, we can simply just write into it. Chosen character is equal to index. Done. We just now store the information from our currently chosen index, because we are switching the index in the update based on our inputs. We're gonna store this locally now into this chosen character. Once we are done with that, we can go to the next scene. So we can do something like Scene manager, and since I don't have the scene manager over here, we need to implement a namespace called Unity Engine.scene management, something like that. And what we now want to do is we want to load a new scene. So scene manager dot load scene, and now we need to put in the string name, an index, whatever, like a build index, or we can just choose whatever. Probably I'm gonna put a string parameter here because I don't know the actual name right now. So string, basically level 2 load, and here we just put in level 2 load as a parameter to load the correct scene. Good, that's it. So now we put this onto a button. We can put this anywhere. I'm gonna create a new canvas for that. Create, where do we got it? UI. Actually, we just directly create a button. So our canvas over here needs to be a screen space overlay as well as a scalable screen size, otherwise we may have problems. And we're gonna put the button, let's say here. And we're gonna have to connect it. I'm gonna rename it pretty quick. So give it just a start game indicator without an F, of course, like that. And on our button, we now need to make sure that our character selects function is going to be inside the on-click event. So we hit the plus, drag character selector in it, choose the function from the script character select start game. And now we need to put in the string name of our scene we want to load. And in this case, it's called sample scene. So I hit F2 to rename, copy by Control C, put the name now inside our button so we are faster with that. Hit enter to apply. Don't forget to save the scene. And now we need to go to the build index. So we go to build settings, So we need to add the open scene as our character select, as well as the sample scene, otherwise we cannot load it. So, and we will get otherwise serious problems with that. So when I now press play and hit the start game button, I should load anything. As you can see, we do not choose any different input over here because this green guy is going to be the first one in the list. You can take a look into our actual player. You see, this one is still over the other one, so it's rendered first. Nothing happened from our setting. Good. Now what we need to do is we need to load this local saved index and put this into our character selects, like into our scene onto the player 1 over there. We have multiple possibilities. Probably it's easier to create an extra script for that. So we're just taking care of the correct selected object. Otherwise, we can also implement this into our player script if we want to. This depends on you on your own. I'm gonna create a new one, name it something like load character. And of course I don't want to have this in my scenes folder. I don't have a scripts folder yet, but I guess it's fine. What we want to do is probably put this onto the player over here. So it's called, where is it right now? Didn't I drag it? Nope. Trying again. Now I put my load character onto my player script. It's just running once. We want to do this only in start and make sure everything is loaded correctly over here. I open this and create just a simple an array, and then we just activate the correct thing. Beforehand we loop through and deactivate everything if necessary. Gonna pop my firewall away. So once again, we don't need update. But we need to have a list of game objects or something to activate and deactivate, right? So we create a new public game object. I'm gonna choose an array. Once again, we now need to start with the green at the first, the red on the second, and the blue one is the third one. So this is going to be like our character sprites, basically. It's just about the sprites and the animations. And if you are once again using the 3D objects, you're gonna do the same. You have like all your models, all your settings into a game object array, and only activate the chosen things. What we now want to do is we first loop through all and deactivate them just in case. So we can make use of 4 or for each loop. Gonna make use of 4 each. Can tap twice to automatically create this for each item in our character sprites. This is going to be the array we want to actually, loop through. You can name this whatever you want. You can even change this type to be game object type. You can also keep var, doesn't matter. What we want to do is now we want to deactivate all the game objects which are part of character sprites. So we say character sprites, oh no, in this case it's item.setActive, and open close parentheses we're going to put in false. Now we want to make sure whenever everything is deactivated, we want to only activate the one which we have loaded, like chosen before. In this case, we're going to say item is not possible anymore, but we can now say character sprites in square brackets. And now the interesting part comes. We want to go and talk to our local save dot chosen character. So whatever we have chosen, we want to set this one to be active is equal to true. So we say dot set active, open close parentheses, true. So that's basically everything we need to do to have just one specific character, whichever we have chosen, active over here. Let's test it out. And of course we need to first off drag all possibilities in the correct order. That's why the order is actually needs to be correct. We can do something like already change the size to be 3 over there. Now we take, maybe I'm gonna rename this objects. So this is going to be my green slime. This is going to be my red slime. And the last one is my blue slime. Hey, will this be a video? Yes, it will. Sadly, I cannot read your name since I don't know Russian names. But yes, this will be available later on when the stream is over. So probably takes an hour or two, and then you can basically go back to this. And now we got the green slime, blue slime, and the red one. And now I need to have the correct order here in my element list. Gonna put this into. So we got basically everything to be correctly set up. Hey Vladimir, pretty good to have you here. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoy this one. And finally, we need to, when we now press play, we would automatically load number 0 no matter what. Because why is that keeping sending a 0? Oh, that's from another thing, from another input. So if we would have a basic setting in the local save to be a 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, what game am I making? No game. It's a request done by some subscribers about how to actually do this. So I just picked an old project of Paperboy, or you maybe Paper Mario style game, and then I just chosen these objects over here. Yeah, everything is based on character selection at the moment, so nothing else but that. Good. Don't forget to save your scene, and now we go back to our character select scene and see if that stuff works we have chosen or created beforehand. Yeah, maybe I'm gonna do the 3D character selection, just a simple one. Okay, so I'm gonna make a cube, a sphere, and a cylinder, so you get the idea behind it. So basically, it's nothing fancy at all, nothing different at all. So no worries. Okay, so I'm gonna press maximize and play, see if all stuff going to happen over there. And now we got this guy. When I now choose left or right keys, I'm gonna change the color. Let's pick red. Red has the index number 1 because it is like in the second element of my list, or an element number 1. So when I now press start, my character, my Slimer character, should change on its own to be a red one. Boom! And now we can go and move along. There are some things, as I said before, there's a problem with the animator component, but now I am the red slime over here because I picked it. Cool, right? So let's test out if we are able to pick the blue one. So I hit the arrow key. Anyhow, there we go. Let me make a blue one. I hit start game, but I'm not blue, but I'm green. So let's see what the problem is. Probably I dragged something wrong over there. Maybe you know, the index is wrong. This one is the blue one over here. Should have the index number 2. So, and there has been no error, no issue. So we're gonna go to the scenes folder and check the sample scene out once again, just in case, and take a look into this. Blue slime has a Slimer set here. And this one is the Slimer set over there. Okay, so we need to debug that and see what's going on with the... and see what the problem is. And probably we need to debug the actual index. Maybe it's overwritten by something which shouldn't be overridden. Okay, so I go back to the character select, press play, and find a way, or try to find a way why my blue Slimer is not loaded. So let's take a look what's happening. So blue slime is active. Well, it's loading the wrong controller. That's why. So debugging is king over here. Go to my sample scene. I just forgot to give my blue Slimer the correct animator. As you can see, the animator component is not the Slimer, but needs to be Slimer blue, of course. Now everything should be fine, and code-wise as well. I didn't want it to press start. Okay, gonna go back to character select, save my scene. Is that important? And now we should be able to be a red, a green, or a blue one. So I'm gonna pick blue now and press start. There we go. We are blue. And if we now play again and hit green, because we didn't actually choose green, then we are green, and red was working already. Pretty cool. So once again, there's the flaw about the animator component. The green one, as you can see, is going to animate. As you can see, no worries about the animation, but the other ones do not. And that's why we are not, or we are basically picking the first element in our other, you know, inside the other script and inside the player script. But that's not a problem. You just need to activate the correct one based on the index. For example, you can go to select the correct child or whatever. There are hundreds of possibilities again. Or you're gonna pick the correct animator component, like which one is the first one in the index, I guess. Yeah, there are multiple possibilities. So yeah, we can now once again do everything which we have done before. The cool thing is we can now make use of the blue or red one. We start the game, and basically, since I put everything together over here, I should be able to even anyhow jump with my left mouse key. So the complete controls are still the same as we have created beforehand, like in the Paper Mario once again, but everything else works completely. Once again, the downside is that the animator component of this one is not getting used. It's the green Slimer animator component, which is currently running over here. Probably there's a way to override it, but basically it doesn't matter for me. Character selection, the easy way, is done. So there was a car, Yanni was asking about how to do 3D. I don't have any 3D characters right now, but let's take a look into this pretty quick. It's basically the same. The sample scene, instead of, you know, having all these slime graphics we're gonna do activate and deactivate, we're gonna have, or we can have something like cube, sphere, cylinder. Let's set it up so you're gonna understand the idea behind it. Just see the cube, the sphere, and the cylinder as separated objects. So basically we're gonna do the same as we did with the Slimers. I'm gonna create a cube. Maybe I have a material anywhere. Not really. So let's take a look into materials. There's just this block material. Now I'm gonna create a material pretty quick so we can see them better in the scene. Or probably I just tint the ground to be green ground or something. Where's the material? There we go. Let's make something like a darkish green, like this. Maybe like that, so my eyes are not bleeding, as well as yours. Where's the scene? There we go. Gonna drop the green onto the plane, like that, so we can see the form, the shape of that over there. So I gonna do, have now the cube. I want to create a sphere, 3D object sphere, and 3D object I don't know, cylinder. Good. So basically, everything works the same way. We're gonna get rid of these. I just deactivate them and make sure that I put these into the actual player where we load the characters. So I'm gonna put the cube in the first, the sphere in the second, and the cylinder in the third. I just need to remember the order. Don't forget to save. And basically now we go into the character select and change a slight bit. So since we are here using, since we're here using the sprite renderer component, we need to now have a list of game objects which we can, deactivate and activate based on the index. So basically, literally, we always go deactivate all or the last index or whatever, and then only activate the one which we are after. And so we need to have, once again, this one a bit different. In here, I want to have on my character select, I also need the cube. I also need the sphere. And I also need the cylinder. For you, you're gonna go with witch, warrior, whatever characters you have, and put these like child objects over here as well. Gonna deactivate the sprite object over here so we don't get too much distracted. The light is different because I don't have automatic light baking, so bear with me. And it doesn't really matter at the moment. So what we now have over here is a list of sprites. And we want to change that, or we need to change that code-wise to be a list of game objects. So let's see, where is it? So as you can see, now we at the moment we do this. But we now need to change it for 3D objects. So literally, I'm gonna get rid of that. Put a new, as I explained at the very beginning, put a new objects list over there, or array, whatever. So characters. So in there can come all your prefabs come into this characters or character prefabs with all their settings, with everything done, or basically just an image, whatever you please and like. And in here, where we are basically taking the sprites index, we're gonna take the character prefabs length or index. Basically the same, no worries about it. Okay, so I'm gonna comment things out and just change them to be correct for this part. So index in this case is equal to the character prefabs dot length minus 1. Since once again we are now going through the game objects stuff, and here we just need to update or load the correct character, like is it a sphere, is it a cube, is it a whatever. Also what we want to do is instead we want to basically loop through all of them and deactivate them, so we can once again make use of a for each loop for each item in our character prefabs list or array. We want to say something like item dot set active to be basically false, like that. Nothing fancy, and we only want to activate the one with the correct index or with the current index, so we can say something like character prefabs. You have seen that already in square brackets, whatever the index is, index dot set active to be true. So when we are at 0, we want to make sure that the cube is active and so on. So now we're gonna do the same over here. We basically deactivate them all, and since we need to do this here multiple times, we probably cut it out and bring this into an extra function. Public void set character whatever character, and do something like this. So we don't have to type this like 100 times now. We just call set character over here. Same here. We just call set character, open close parentheses. And now we're gonna do the same over here. Basically, we increase the index, and whenever we got not the character sprites length modulo over here, we're gonna put this with the character prefabs dot length over there. So I comment the other one out. And we're gonna take a look into that. So we're gonna set now here, set character, open close parentheses, and close the line with a semicolon. That should be it. So we're gonna, since everything else is going to work the same, it's like, once again, the index is taken, everything works the same, and now we should see at the very start, we don't see anything, because we don't have an index out of range exception. And what does it mean is our cube, sphere, and cylinder, of course, need to be inside our character selector. I should have deactivated this one. They're kind of distracting. So first comes the cube. I can drag them directly onto the name over here if I want to have them like in the correct order. Or we can select them multiple and bring them also over there. So once again, the order is important. We have the cube, the spheres, the cylinder. When I now press play, I should see only the cube because the other ones should be deactivated. If I go and hit right key, I have the sphere, right key again, I have the cylinder. So as you can see, I just do the same thing, just with a different, just with game objects. Deactivate the other ones if they are active, just loop through and activate them to whatever. When I now press start, I should see the cylinder over here, as you can see, but the cylinder does not have any reference, about the collision, and there's something else inside the update loop. Probably it's because there's no animator component. What is that on collision enter? I'm not quite sure what that comes from, but it doesn't matter. As you can see, I can easily go and load the cube like this. Once again, I pop out because there's something inside which we cannot or we do not make use of here. Not quite sure. Once again, it can happen that something is wrong with the box collider. Maybe there's a script onto the player about collision and stuff, but it doesn't matter. Maybe it's easier for us to get rid of collisions directly on those because the player handles that. Let me go there. I'm gonna save. And maybe I'm gonna just deactivate those mesh collider or this colliders here, or just get rid of them. Remove, because they don't need it. Remove. And remove. I'm gonna save my scene again, go back to character select. Once again, you will not or may not have these errors. I'm gonna try a sphere now. Nope, there's something in here. Object reference not set to be an instant of an object. I'm not quite sure what he means. Let's see. Call CUL in the player script 127. I believe that doesn't make any, or it shouldn't have any issues. What doesn't he find? Probably he doesn't find the rigid body? No, it's not about that. I don't know. Also, something in the update loop doesn't really work. Once again, it is about the player settings. Just take a look into these when you have such issues. Probably it's about the animator component, which, as you can see, the animator component cannot be accessed, so because there's no animator component onto it. So that's where the null reference comes from. So once again, you want to make sure that you have all the animator components set up correctly. Once again, I don't cover this right now because it is part of the Paper Mario. I explained everything in complete over there inside the stream, and that's everything you need to know about character selection. If you have any questions, I give you now 1 minute or maybe 2 time to ask your questions, and so I have the possibility to answer them if there's anything still unclear about character selection. So please flush in all your questions right now. If you're later on coming into this and see the video later on, feel free to check out the comment box down below, or just leave a comment if you have any further questions, and so on. No questions. Okay, cool. Then I think I served you well. Once again, feel free to check out the description box down below. There's a free PDF to get 3 strategies to finish your game today or tomorrow. And also there are all my courses linked below in the description box below. So feel free to check them out. Probably there's something you want to learn new today. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And thanks a lot for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this live stream. Once again, feel free to check out the community box where you can leave requests of different streams I can talk about. Like this one was a request as well. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Once again, I hope you enjoyed this and take care, guys. See you next time. Bye bye.